And pivoting is a very important point here because nearly every successful startup needed to pivot one time or the other, because this is actually the success of a startup. Typically, a startup never sticks at what it started. And I think this is the same for freelancers and solopreneurs and also coaches. And you said you were very successful in pivoting. So what is your message or your advice for the listeners, for the audience? How can you successfully pivot? What do you need to take care of? Yeah, thank you, Thom van Dycke, that you visit us in this podcast, that you're here. And it's already the episode number 10 of the Tec-One Stories. I'm very happy that you're here again and listen to our stories of freelancers, of solopreneurs, of coaches. It's very exciting. And today I have a professional storyteller. So it really fits in the Tec-One Stories that somebody visits this podcast or is a guest in my podcast who is a professional storyteller. Yeah, please let us know a little bit more about your story, Thom. Thank you that you're here, and yeah, share your story. And yeah, what is the message of storytelling? What you can give us?
Sure. So I was actually a pastor for 19 years before I became an entrepreneur. And first of all, I live in Manitoba, Canada, so it's cold here right now.
Yeah, very far in the north, isn't it? Very far in the north.
Well, yeah, no, it's not so bad. We're only
from my point of view, at least.
Yeah,
maybe not from your point of view.
Yeah. Certainly from Bolivia, it's far north. So
yeah, true.
But we don't even have very much snow here, and it's almost Christmas, so that's tragic in my mind.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, we live up here with my family. I was born and raised in Manitoba, born on a farm, became a pastor at 21, and when I was 40. Left paid ministry. I don't think we ever leave it completely, but started my business. And I started out as a story brand guide. So your listeners who aren't familiar with story brand, it's a particular copywriting framework that takes the 7 parts of a story and applies them to your brand message. And it's a very, very effective and repeatable process. You can take it into all of your marketing. And so I've specialized in copywriting, had a few very, very successful years right out of the gate. And I kind of just thought that everybody did when they started that, if you're a copywriter, you'll get clients, you'll make money, and I quickly learned that that's not the case. Lots of people are struggling as entrepreneurs. So this year I had made it a goal that by the end of the year, 50% of my income would come, or my revenue would come from coaching, and 50% would come from copywriting. And as it would happen, in August, all of my copywriting contracts ended, and there was nothing else in the pipeline. So I felt like a bird that was pushed out of the nest, and I said, okay, I guess I'm going to do consulting now. And so on September 1st, I had 1 consulting client. And this week, the week of the recording, I signed my 13th client. So it's gone very, very well for me. And obviously, I focus a lot on messaging still and brand story, but I have a little bit more holistic approach now to business, more than I did when I was in marketing.
Great. So you know a lot of stories. You have heard a lot of stories. What is the most exciting story you ever have heard of a business or of a solopreneur? So can you share one of the most exciting stories you ever have heard? Maybe it's your own story. I don't know. Or maybe it's the story of somebody else.
It's true. I feel like I'm very fortunate. I'm living an incredible story. I mean, I've been able to pivot very quickly, twice, go from one career that's completely different to another career, and then also do a pivot, just 3 years in. And it feels like this is going to really work. It feels like I come closer and closer to my sweet spot. So certainly that's exciting for me. What I like, people define success in so many different ways, right? So you look at a guy like Donald Miller, who started StoryBrand and Business Made Simple. Well, he was a solopreneur, 10, 11 years ago. And now he has 600 certified guides with him. He's got a whole host of coaches that are certified with him. Massive influence. He has books coming out every year. So I mean, that would be one type of success. Another type of success, though, is the person who has said, I'm going to create the life that I want. It doesn't need to be high revenue, high income, but I'm going to add tremendous value. Or I'm going to maintain my work-life balance. I'm not going to become an entrepreneur who takes everything away. So I'm with a number of people. I was just talking to a client this morning, and he said, Tom, he says, as busy as I am, I can turn off my brain in the evenings and spend time with my family. And I went, that's real success, right?
Oh,
Because
wow. Yeah.
he's able to manage his priorities and stick with it. So, I mean, I meet lots of people define success in all sorts of different ways, but I think that one would be a real good indicator that you're in a successful, healthy business.
Yeah, that's true. You need to know your goals. You need to set your goals or your aims, and then if you can fulfill it, if you can reach it, that's success, of course. But there was one point which was very interesting for me, was the pivoting, because we talk about it a lot in the startup area, and I come from the research and startup field, and now I see freelancers and solopreneurs as startups because they're selling something, they're selling their own services. And pivoting is a very important point here, because nearly every successful startup needed to pivot one time or the other, because this is actually the success of a startup. Typically, a startup never sticks at what it started. And I think this is the same for freelancers and solopreneurs and also coaches. And you said you were very successful in pivoting. So what is your message or your advice for the listeners, for the audience? How can you successfully pivot? What do you need to take care of?
Well, one of my friends once told me, almost he was a little bit frustrated that I had been so successful so quickly.
Okay.
And but then he said, Tom, like, failure was just never an option for you. And I went, yeah, you're right. I always just assumed this was going to work, which I know is not going to, that's not a magic formula. You still need to put your shoulders down and work hard. And but I think that mindset of, yeah, I'm making a change, but this is going to work. It's just, that mindset is so critical. Now, practically speaking, I had to build a program very, very quickly. I was able to focus, though, because all my copywriting projects were over. And you go from having very good cash flow to having no cash flow. So I felt that urgency inside. I think urgency is a very important part of any sort of startup. You have to, and I don't mean in a hustling way or in an unhealthy way where you're just pulling late nighters. And I just mean this inner urgency that you're going to do what it takes. Now, since August 1st, I've had 160 discovery calls. So I average about 9 a week. And so if you think about that, 109 discovery calls a week on average, and out of that came 13 clients. So to me, it really comes down to your network and the strength of your network and how you manage your network. Because lots of people have a network, but they don't manage it. Lots of people will say, oh, I've got referral partners, but they don't stay top of mind with them. So you have to have a strategy to stay top of mind with your referral partners. And that led to because I very carefully managed my key referral partners. I call them key introduction partners. Because I managed them very carefully, I got a ton of introductions. And those introductions, it got increasingly more qualified and warmer. And then over time, you sign clients because you meet the ones that you can add the greatest value to.
Okay.
So
That
I
is
think,
very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, that piece, I have told so many people this. If I was starting from ground zero again today, the first thing I would do is identify who's my ideal client. The second thing I would do is I would say, who serves my ideal client in different ways than I do? And then I would go talk to those people and enter into a relationship with them where I send them introductions, make introductions for them, and they make introductions for me. That would be strategy number one, because you need to get the flywheel going of introductions and meeting people.
So the key is strategic partners.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Because we talk a lot about messaging. We talk a lot about the target audience and focus on the target audience and marketing and presenting your message. But the key partnerships sometimes I think is not outlined enough in freelancing or in solopreneurships. I really have a feeling so. Key partnerships are really important. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah,
Werner, if you think about it, so I'm a consultant, you're a coach. We only get clients in two ways. Either they're an introduction from somebody else, a referral, or through some sort of shared bond. So we're part of the same networking group, we're in a Facebook group together, but there's some shared bond there. Okay. That's literally the only way. I've never gotten a client from social media strategy, like posting. I've never gotten a client from digital ads. It has always been a highly relational thing. So I need now, if it's relational, I need people to make that bridge for me so that it's relational right from the beginning. So if you made an introduction for me, the way I would start the call is I'd say, hey, so-and-so, so amazing. You know Werner, I know Werner. How do you know him? And we'll talk back and forth about that. And then we'll talk business, because now we've established this connecting point, right? So it's not hard to get clients. You need to get in front of the right people with the right message.
True.
That you can have a great message, but if you're not meeting people or meeting the wrong people, it doesn't matter, right? On the other hand, there's lots of people out there who just meet and network, but they have a completely inconsistent message. It's not compelling at all. So you need those two things to work.
Yeah. On the other hand, it still takes time and it still takes a lot of exploratory calls, right? I mean, your ratio was 10% more or less, something like that. I hope I calculated it right. And I mean, this is also what we talk a lot about it. Of course, you need to have your sales funnel and you need numbers and you need to have your network. And that's very important. And I think you need to show up. And we do this podcast also for digital nomads. They want to live wherever or work and live wherever they want and want to work online. But I think this is true for everybody, whether you work offline or you work online. It's important that you speak to a lot of people. Maybe you make short calls as a first meeting and then you extend it step by step, right? I mean, it's all about setting up relations. In the first meeting, typically, you start and then you make more meetings. So typically, how many meetings do you have until a client signs a contract? 1, 2, 3, 10? Is there a typical average number?
It depends on the size of the client. So if you're dealing with a solopreneur, it's usually a couple meetings, 2, maybe 3. With a larger client where they're an agency or a small business, there it'll take 5 or 6 calls to make sure you get all the details ironed out. It's more like maybe after call 3, in their hearts they're saying, yes, we're going to do this, but now how is this going to work logistically? What is the plan? So depending on the size of the client will determine how many interactions I have. But you can have interactions in different ways. You can have touch points that are Like, for example, you can invite somebody to, you can invite them to a webinar you're presenting. So now what
Yes.
happens is you've made the contact, you give a personal invitation to the webinar, and that person comes there, and now they're going to hear how you teach, how you think, and that warms them up as well. So it's not just actual calls that move the needle, that move people along. It's any interaction you have with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is very important. Many people who start are camera shy or microphone shy or whatever. I mean, you can also make audio events or podcasts. You need not even show your face in the camera, but it's very important, right? That you show up and that you engage with the people. And this is very important also for people that want to work online, remotely, wherever they are, right? And then, I mean, what would you say? Now, a lot of people in my audience are digital nomads. There is a lot about change, right? And some change their place of living and working very often. So do you think there is some limit of changes? So you should not change too often. I mean, we talked about pivoting. So pivoting works, pivoting can work easily. But on the other hand, maybe it's not good to change too often. So what do you think? Is there a minimum, a maximum of pivoting or of change?
Well, I think that you're not going to get traction if you give up too quickly.
True.
So I did copywriting for 3 years, but when you look at what I'm doing now, there's still a lot of copywriting in it. So the way that I'm helping my clients has changed. The format has changed, the length of time has changed, but there's a lot of similarities. The copywriting was critical for me to get my thinking in order so that I can help consulting clients now. If I know what you're talking about, there's people who, you know, they do design work and then, you know, they're on Fiverr, then they're on Upwork, then they're on, you know,
they change all the time. Yeah, they change all the time. Yeah.
So that's dangerous. I think there's two equal opposite extremes. Some people get very tunnel vision. They don't like change. So they say, I'm going to do it this way and this way always. And that doesn't allow you to expand with time, right? So, you know, it doesn't, the digital strategies that worked 5 years ago, those don't work today. We need to be able to evolve along with sort of the business culture and trends. That's important. But you're right. If you're just following every shiny object, you know, oh, now I'm an AI expert. Oh, now I'm this. Oh, now I'm that. You're not going to gain any credibility, and you're probably not going to gain any hard skills. And you need skills. If you cannot solve a real problem for somebody and add value to their business, you need to get out of business. Like you just need to. That's what drove me nuts about marketing. In marketing, what we say is there's no ROI on marketing. And that's true. You're going to give me thousands of dollars to build your website, thousands of dollars to manage your social media, thousands of dollars to do your email marketing. No guarantee. I could bring you 500 leads next week. If you suck at sales, too bad. Right? It just doesn't matter.
True.
Because the marketing only brings them to the door. It never brings them through the door.
Yeah.
And there's a place for that, but it bothered me personally. And I thought, boy, there's got to be a way to not just teach people how to generate leads, but then also how to convert leads and then how to manage clients.
That's the point. I mean, it's not about making leads, it's about serving clients. And everybody, even a lead who becomes a client, is a client, and you need also to serve the leads already. I mean, there's a lot about this today. Give content also for free and so on, and start. Yeah, of course. I mean, that is true. But I think it's all about not changing too quickly, and also in marketing, you need to have a strategy, also long-term strategy. And I think this is very true what you say. And yeah, I think we already talked a lot, and we want to show that in 15, 20 minutes, we can really be focused and talk about important things. This is also what I do in my 15-minute flash coachings. And last question, even if you're already over time, I don't care. Last question, what about coaching? Did you have, during your life,
yes,
good coaches already so far?
Yes. Yeah.
And what is a good coach? So this is of
A
course
good
more
coach-
important. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a good coach is somebody that you connect with. You don't have to like your coach. I'm not hiring a best friend.
That's very good point. Yeah, I
Yeah.
never have heard that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like it.
You don't have to. They're not guys that you're going to go to the pub with. That's fine. It doesn't matter. They have to be farther ahead than you. They have to demonstrate that they can actually generate ROI for you. They have to be more than an accountability partner. You know, I don't like it when a business coach gets on the call and they have no plan. What's going on in your life today? You know, what can we do? So there has to be this synergy. You have to have sort of a philosophical agreement on how you want to go about business, and they have to be farther ahead than you. That's very important. I would say pick your business coaches very, very carefully. Now, Werner's a good one, so
Thank you. Okay, that was
so
a
get on
nice
a call
summary.
with him.
Thank you very much, Thom. Thank you for this partnership, this strategic
Yes.
partnership. We should really explore it more or work on this more. I like it very much. Yeah, thank you very much. It was inspiring talking with you. I learned a lot. I hope also the audience will learn a lot as soon as this is on air. It will be the last podcast in this year, so 2023. So I thank you very much for your trust during this year, my audience, the Tec-One community, and I hope we will do a lot together in 2024. And please don't forget to subscribe, to reach out, and to connect with us. And yeah, share ideas and stay independent, but at the same time not alone, and grow together. This is the idea of Tec-One.